Good morning and welcome. Here we are. It is Hump Day, middle of the week, Wednesday, and we move forward into the third aspect, or the third area, the third division, the third day of our meditations in Hebrews. We're in Hebrews chapter 4. Let's jump in. Meditations. We're looking for something to munch. We're looking to get a hold of something that will be received by us and get down into our spirit and then become powerful transformation to change our mind, our will, and our emotions, to transform our lives with other people. First of all, receiving transformation of our life with God, get things right in our spirit, and then following upon that, get things right with people. Vertical first, then horizontal, but let's not leave the horizontal out. Therefore, since it still remains for some to enter that rest, remember there is a time lapse between being born again and being saved. Being born again and begin receivership of salvation, and then completing, pressing through the finish line. We constantly see that imagery in the New Testament of not abandoning, not quitting, not shipwrecking, not being a castaway, on and on and on and on. It's that idea of we begin and then we finish. And we never have to be concerned that God's going to bail on us. Man, what a great assurance. Therefore, since it still remains for some to enter that rest, we have that still as a proposal in front of us, to enter into seventh day of God, to enter into God's Sabbath. Remember, I said that each week we practice a Sabbath day to orient us and to remind us of God's rest, and we're looking to enter into that Sabbath. So we have a Sabbath once every week that points us towards entering into God's Sabbath. It is not itself God's Sabbath. It stands for, memorializes, and gets us ready, gets us oriented as physical people. It gets us oriented towards the idea that God is rest. He is peace. He has rested from His works. He has rested from His works. And now it remains for some to enter that rest. And since those who formerly had the good news proclaimed to them, this is the people of Israel, did not go in because of their disobedience, did not enter into the promised land, and did not even see it. Only the spies went through the land. There was a whole other group of people that never went across the Jordan and checked out the land. They didn't. Moses had to be taken up on a high spot to look into the land. But this was unique. This was not everybody getting up on a mountain peak to look in, or a very high spot. They did not go in because of their disobedience. God again set a certain day, calling it today. So even though they blew it in the wilderness, in the rebellion, they have not precluded or eliminated this day called today. God again set a certain day, calling it today. This He did when a long time later He spoke through David. So remember that this is the writer, the inspired writer of Scripture, who has said God in past times and in various sundry ways spoke to us through prophets. So what does this tell you about this perspective? This writer of Scripture sees David as a prophet. He is a king and he is a prophet. It's not uncommon to see king and prophet kind of run together. This he did when a long time later he spoke through David, as in the passage already quoted. What did David say? Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. David is a while after Joshua. For if Joshua had given them rest, if actually entering the physical land of Israel had been giving them rest, then it would have been completed, fulfilled, and done with. But the fact remains that they hardened their heart in the rebellion. They did not enter in. God would not have spoken later about another day. So what does that tell us? This day that he speaks of is a substantially longer time than the day that Joshua spoke of. Caleb and Joshua spoke of. Back in their day, there was a specific day. There was a specific 24-hour period that was followed after 40 days. So in 41 days, the people of Israel heard back from the spies and voted no. So their day was that one day of hearing from the spies and deciding no. In 24 hours, they put themselves into a rebellion. Now, that was brewing in their heart. But here we are talking now. So the inspired writer of Hebrews and other writers in the New Testament connect to this idea of a day or the day and it being more than 24 hours. This is a new concept, and he's talking now about a time, an era, a marking out of time. And so, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. This is a great day to hear his voice and then refuse to harden our heart. Instead, say, I'm willing to believe. I need some help here, but I'm willing to believe. I need some help here and some explanation here. I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to believe that. And I'm willing to receive it. I'm willing to consider it. I'm willing to do anything but say, that's not for me. That's goofy. Rather than doing that, we say, I'll consider it. I'll think about it. I'll dwell on it. As we do that, amazing things happen because we're taking advantage of our time. This is our time. This is our day. So far, it's lasted 2,000 plus years. Who would have thunk it? But this day is going to end. So this is a time to take advantage and listen and hear his voice today. Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Well, that's a great motto. That's something to jot down and let it become a motto for a day after a day after a day after a day. I'm going to hear his voice and I'm not going to harden his heart. What a great position to be in. With that, I'm going to say the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace. And let me add this, and give you rest. Enter into his rest with an open and yielded heart. Lord bless you. Looking forward already to seeing you tomorrow as we go on to the next couple verses.